Hey all, welcome back to the lab. In this video, we're going to be discussing my solution to the advent of code 2025, day 5 in C#, and I'm using a functionalish nature, so hopefully the solution is a little bit different than some other C# ones that you've seen. So as a reminder, all of the full code solutions that I put on this channel are available to my Hominions members. You can join Hominions and you get access to a big repo with dozens of examples, but for this, we'll just walk through the code, and all the code itself is also on the website and here, so you can copy and paste it and reference it as much as you want. Okay, so now let's move over to my repo. Basically, I have solutions here. I'm in day 5, and let me make this bigger so you can see it. And so the basic idea of day 5 is that we've got these inventory of fresh food ranges, which are ranges of numbers. And I think I can show you I didn't commit the test input, but it's fresh food ranges. Then there's a blank line, and then there is inventory food, and all of these are numbers. But of course, it's AOC, so these are really big numbers, these are longs. And so we'll have to use longs to make sure we don't overflow anything. And the goal of this is to get the count of fresh foods. So basically, what we've got to do is we've got to parse out the data. We're going to do this by finding the first empty line, and then we'll grab the fresh data and then put it into, I started with the set, but we'll see why that didn't work in a minute. And then we'll go over the food and see if it's fresh. And then to see if the fresh, or if the data is fresh and then actually count it up, we're just going to loop over those. So my first solution was to actually just use a hash set, but I actually out of memory, I was basically going over each range in the fresh data and putting it to a set, but I didn't realize that the numbers would be really large, which I should have because this is advent of code. And so it actually out of memoried my computer, which is great. So then I had to go back to the drawing board, and I was like, okay, to do this with less memory, we can just use intervals, and we can do kind of a merge. And so that's what we're doing here. And so we get our day 5 part 1 lines here. I find the index of the inventory using index of and just find the empty string. And then the food inventory is just going to be all the lines after the index of inventory. So I'm using a skip here to get that. And then for the fresh food ranges, I'm building fresh food data ranges, which we'll look at in a minute, by just taking the first amount. So everything before that index of the empty line. And then once we have that, we can just loop over the food inventory that we have. We turn those into longs. We check if they're in the fresh data, and then we just count the ones where that's true. So pretty simple, but of course the actual complexity is in these helper functions. So the first is build fresh food data ranges. So for here, what we do is we take each line, we're splitting it on the dash to get the low and high. Then we're creating this helper record food range inclusive. And then we're going to order them by the low, and then we're going to aggregate them together, basically merging the ranges. So once we have them in order, then we can just check like, hey, are they overlapping? And if they are, then we're going to merge it into the last range. And then if it's not overlapping, then we'll add it to the end. This is similar to a lot of like leak code problems where you need to do this kind of merging intervals. So if you're familiar with those, this is pretty normal. And then finally for is food ID and fresh data, basically we're just doing a binary search here. So we get the fresh food ranges, the food ID, and so this should be O of n log n here, or O of log n per search. And so we merge the intervals and O of n log n, and then where n is the intervals, and then we actually do the search in log n, which is much better than what I was doing, which was looping over every single value and the number ranges, which can be absurdly large. This is the binary search. I actually find AI is very useful for just being like, hey, I've done binary search a million times, just like go implement it real fast. And it's helped make these puzzles more fun for me because I don't have to like go back and rewrite the algorithm or anything. It's like, hey, I know what I want, go do a version of this. So I can just use it, kind of like having like a utility function or something. And so that's what I did for this one, especially because I spent so much time, well, not really that much time, but like I wanted the hash set to work and it didn't. And then I had to go back to the drawing board. And so it helped me not get frustrated there. So for part 2, you basically just have to add the ranges. So what is the full ranges of things that are fresh? And because I already had all of these helper methods, this was super easy to do. Basically just did the same exact data parsing that I had above, and then all I had to do is just sum the range with range high minus range low, and then a +1 to make sure I'm capturing the inclusive value, and that was that. So all in all, not that bad, and I've been pleasantly surprised with C# and how it works functionalish. I do have problems sometimes with type discrimination, but like for simple things like this, it doesn't really need it, and so I didn't really have any problems with it. So that's it for day 5. If you like this, let me know, and maybe I'll keep doing little walkthroughs of my solutions here. And again, if you want access to the full repo that I showed you, that's available here on the GitHub repo to Minions members, which you can learn more about here. And then if you also want to see my other posts on admin of code, you can check them out here. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.